Hello, it's Julie again, and in the last video I showed you how to make one of these lovely glacier icicles, which is our modern interpretation of the traditional Finnish Himmeli craft. We're using long silver-lined bugles for extra glisten, and we're using wire to give it robustness so that it will last for many years. Today I'm going to show you how to make an Elissa star. Again, this is available as a kit from Spellbound, and we're using the same materials as for the icicle: 50mm bugles, 30mm bugles, a few seed beads and some wire. I hope you'll give it a go. These are the beads I'm going to need to make the Elissa star. I've got two sets of long bugles. These ones are 30mm long, and I have 25 of those. And these ones are 50mm long, and I've got just 20 of those. Now I've checked they're all the same length in each group, and I've checked that I don't have badly chipped ends on any of the bugles, because unfortunately some of the longer bugles are a little bit fragile at the end, so you do need to do a quality check. I've also got a measure of size 8 seed beads, and everything is in silver-lined crystals, so it all matches. Now to start the star, I'm going to have to make the pentagon that sits at the centre of the first side. Now the pentagon is made up of 5 triangles, and as you can see it's three-dimensional, but it's also very, very rigid. I can push down quite hard on that. You can see it's making the camera wobble, and it's retaining its shape, and that will help the star when it's complete to also maintain its shape. Right, I'll pop that out the way and I'll bring in my wire. I'm starting with 1.2 meters of 0.315mm soft wire, and as the pentagon is all made in the shorter of the two bugles, I'm going to start with 3 30mm bugles. Now I've got them about 10 centimetres from the end of the wire, and if you've watched the previous video about making Himmeli, you will have seen the technique to make sure you get the shape you want without breaking and damaging the wire. So I've got all the beads together. This is the end I'm going to thread with. This is the long end, and I'm going to push it through the first bugle towards the second bugle. As I pull through, I'm making sure that the wire stays smooth, and I want to make sure that those beads are tucked up tightly to where I want the bends to be. You can see this is the last bit of the wire. These two bends have already made themselves, and that's the last bend made. And that's the biggest trick to this. It's keeping everything nice and smooth. Now I'm going to put a little bend against there. That's the short end of the wire. That will stop that slipping. Now, to start my next triangle, I'm going to come up this side of the new triangle first. Now you can see it wants to make a bit of a tangle if I'll let it, so I'm not going to. I'm keeping the wire nice and smooth and pulling it through. See, the loop's getting smaller and smaller, and it's through, and everything's nice and tight. I'm just going to make sure it's really pulled up neat. There's a little bit of slack, so pull everything up, and that's really important for your first triangle. Get it nice and firm. Now we're going to make a triangle here, so I'm only going to need 2 beads because that's the third side already in situ. So it's 2 of our 30mm bugles on, push them right up to where I want them to be, and now the long end of the wire is going to have to pass up through the third side of the triangle. Make sure the end is straight, push it through. See, the beads are pushed up to where I want them to be. I start to pull through. And as I pull through, that's that corner making itself, that corner making itself, and this is the bit of wire I need to keep an eye on, and that pulls up nice and snug. So now I've got 2 triangles. The next triangle will go here, so I'm going to be utilising this bead. The moment the wire is in the wrong place, it's coming out of this one here, so I need to move it so that it's emerging from this end of the first side on my next triangle. Through the bead. You can hear it pulling through. There's that loop. I need to keep an eye on that, make sure it's nice and smooth, and that's pulled up nice and neat. And you can see I've got a little bit of slack there, so I need to pull that loop back a bit. And pull this end through. There we go. That's tightened it up. Right, this is where my next triangle is going to be, so I'm going to need 2 of the 30mm bugles. Push them right down to where I want them to be. Down through the first side. And make sure those beads are pushed up where you want them to be and pull through. Now we have 3 triangles. The next one will come from this side here because we need to start to come round into our pentagon shape. So I need to go through 1 bead to get me halfway round. Make sure that loop's nice and smooth, that's pulled through nicely. And these extra passes also make this much more firm. This is the first side of the new triangle. So I need to pass up that one as well. It just needs smoothing a little bit. There we go. And now I need 2 more bugles. For the 4th triangle. So again, push them right up to the junction, pass through the first bead of the triangle, keep them pushed up tight. There's that corner making itself, and that's the last corner making itself. Now we have 4 triangles. The 5th triangle already has this side and this side in situ. So as we lift it up like that, I'm going to add the last bugle bead there, and that will give me 5 triangles. Now at the moment the wire is coming out of the wrong place, it's coming out of the top of this bead here, so I need to bring it down this one here. There you go. It's pulled up nice and tight, and so just that bugle in there. Now, make sure I move that round to where the wire's coming from, and then it will make the join much more satisfactorily. There we go. Now I've got my pentagon. I've brought the wire down through the side of the 5th triangle and along the base, so it's emerging at the corner of this bugle. Now to make the Elissa star, we're going to add a point onto each of these shorter bugles using the longer bugles. So if I put those beads in there, you can see that's the pattern we're trying to achieve. Now we're going to make a point on the star using our seed beads, and we're also going to use the seed beads to help us when we skip across these junctions here, because if we don't put something in there, the bugles will grind against one another and they can damage, but also it helps to keep the junction really firm so your star will be really robust. We're going to start with the first point on our star. So this is the base, and then I'm going to add in 2 long bugles. So these are the 50mm bugles, and I'm going to put just one on to start with. Bring it right down to the junction, the same as we've done before, and I'm going to make the point of the star, and the tip of the point is made with 2 seed beads. So I'm going to pop those on again, push them right up to the junction. I'm going to just pull 1 seed bead slightly away so I can get at the first seed bead and pass in the opposite direction through that seed bead. I'm going to pull through. Now with pulling up a seed bead nice and tightly, you can use the trick of holding the seed bead, not the wire, the seed bead, just under your thumbnail. As you pull, your thumbnail will get tighter and tighter up towards, and that's that seed bead I was holding on to. So you can see I've got a nice tight junction. Right, other long bugle. There we go. Now this is the 30mm bugle at the base. You can see this one's coming out of this corner here. So to complete the triangle, I go through the base of the triangle. And that's our first star point completed with the point made in seed beads. Now we're going to jump across this junction here. So this is where I need the extra seed bead. And I'm going to pass into the next 30mm bugle around the base of our pentagon. It's danced out the way slightly. I just need to make sure it pulls up nice and neat. That's because I've got this little kink in it, as you can see. So I'm going to get my round nose pliers and just pull it back so that I can smooth it. That should be better, I hope. Put the seed bead in the right place. And I caused that problem myself because I didn't put the seed bead right against the junction before I started the stitch, so it's do as I say, not do as I do. Right, now we're ready for the next point. So it's the same again. It's a 50mm bugle, 2 seed beads, make the tip of the point by passing through the first seed bead, which this time I'm going to make sure is right up against the junction. Pull it through, there's that end seed bead I'm going to pull on to make that really tight. On with the second long side of the triangle. There we go. That's going to go like that. I'm sorry this is dancing around left and right and clockwise and anti-clockwise, but you'll find when you're making it yourself you need to flip it left to right and round so you can always get the best direction to pull on the wire. There we go, that's through the base of the new triangle and we've got 2 points. So I'm going to add the seed bead into the new gap. So that's the seed bead, and then I'm going to go through that one. I'm going to continue until I've got 5 points. So I've added the 3 remaining points, and the last thing to do is to add the seed bead into the 5th gap around the middle pentagon. So on with the seed bead and through the base of the first triangle we made, and pull through. This is always a little bit more awkward because there's more beads in the way. There we go. Right, so there's my star, or at least the first side of my star made. Now I'm going to make a duplicate of this for the back, but as I make it I'm going to link on to these points. So because I'm using this and another star at the same time, I want to make sure everything's as neat as possible. So I'm going to finish off this wire end at this stage. So I'm going to wrap around the wire just at the junction where I've finished, and that makes it nice and firm, and then I'm going to pass through a bugle bead. Now I've been really careful not to obstruct the hole in that seed bead there, because we're going to need that later when we finish off our star and join everything together. Right, so I've twisted off the wire there and I've brought it through here so I can now trim it off. Now you can use wire cutters or you can do the pinch and twist method, which is easier and doesn't leave a sharp end. So you put your thumbnail against where you want it to be cut, you pull on the loose end and you twist and pull, and it will break off where your thumbnail is and not leave any catch. So that's my first star done. I'm just going to put that to the side for the moment and bring in the centre of my second star that I've already made. So it's exactly the same as on the first one. It's 5 triangles joined together to make our 3D pentagon. And I've brought the wire through the bottom bugle here. This is going to be my first star point, so the wire's coming out of this end here. I'm going to start in the same way as we did on the previous layer, and I'm going to put on one long bugle bead, one of the 50mm bugle beads. I now need to join the end here to the point on my previous layer. So I'm going to put the 2 pentagons back to back. I'm going to match up this new side with this side here, and I need to join to these 2 seed beads. Now I don't have to take the wire through the seed beads. The beauty of wire is you just need to twist it off. So I'm just going to wrap around the base of that bottom seed bead, so it's between the 2 bugles here and the seed bead. I'm going to go around twice so it's nice and firm. Then I'm going to put on the second side of my new triangle. Just pinch those together there. Now this is the only time you have to have a second thought about this. We need to make sure that the 2 pentagons are back to back like that, so they both point outwards. So I need to make sure I've got this round the right way. So if that one's pointing downwards, this one needs to point upwards. This is the base of my new triangle, and I pass through there. There we go. So that's our first point complete. Now we need that seed bead in the junction again. So it's seed bead in the junction, through the next bugle along our new pentagon. I need to just straighten that wire a bit more, I think. There we go. Get the seed bead to the right end of the junction. There's that loop disappearing and up tight. Now we've got the base of our new point. So it's on with the 50mm bugle. Push it right up to the junction. Now this is the next point around the previous layer. As you can see, if I match everything up. So I'm going to wind around the base of that seed bead and bugle junction. Put the second side of my new triangle on, or the third side actually, because we've already got one side down here. Through the triangle on the base. Sorry, through the bugle on the base, I should say. There we go. And you can see I've now got 2 3D points. Now I'm going to continue around to finish the remaining 3 points, not forgetting to add those seed beads in those junctions. So as you can see, I've finished making the second layer of the star, or the back of the star. So I've now got a wonderful 3D structure with the same star showing back and front, all joined at the tips of the points. Now it's a lovely structure, but at the moment it's a bit squishy, as you can see, front to back, and that's not what we really want. So we're going to finish off by adding the last 5 30mm bugles as little braces in between the corners of the front pentagon and the back pentagon. So one in there, one in there, one in there, and so on all the way around. Now I've just finished the star here at this position here. I've come out of this bugle, so this was the last point I made, and I'm going to put the first brace across this section here. So I'm going to thread on one of my 30mm bugles, and I'm going to actually pass through the seed bead on the opposite pentagon corner. So just through the seed bead, I don't have to worry about the bugles. Pull that through. I made sure my new bugle is up against the previous junction. I'm pulling through just like that. Now I need to pass the wire back through the new bugle, so I need to make sure everything's nice and taut. So I'm going to pull that up to the junction, and I'm controlling that loop so that I can pull the wire tight, and there's my brace between one pentagon corner and the one that backs onto it. Now I just need to reposition the wire to do the same again. Now at this stage these triangles will be quite full of wire, especially these base beads here along the bottom of the point, so you might need to fiddle a little bit and move things out of the way at the far end. That doesn't want to go. There we go. So I'm passing it through to the next pentagon junction, through the base of the next point around this layer of the star. I need to make sure it pulls in nice and tidy. That's it, lovely. And now I can put in the next brace piece. I'm going to do exactly the same again. Add my new 30mm bugle bead. I'm going to pass through the corresponding seed bead on the corner of the other pentagon, back through the bugle and around, and I'm going to repeat until I've made the whole structure nice and firm. So as you can see, I've finished off my star by adding in these 5 supporting bugle beads. I just need to get it into a final even shape, but you can see it's really strong. I think that's absolutely stunning. I do hope you'll have a go at making one. You can get all the beads loose from us at Spellbound, or you can get a pack that makes 3 Elissa stars all together in a kit with the instructions. Thank you for watching and enjoy your Himmeli making.